Welcome to Virtuous HR. My name is Deanna, your HR consultant for small business, entrepreneurs, and startups. Today, we're going to talk about the difference between employees and an independent contractor, as well as cover when you should hire which. So let's get started. Now, there are two main reasons why you need to know the difference in between who's an employee and who's an independent contractor. The first is a tax penalty that you could end up paying the IRS. The employees are supposed to have taxes taken out of their payroll, and independent contractors are treated like 1099 or self-employed individuals. So you pay them straight out without taking any taxes out. So if you confuse the two, or if you're paying an employee like an independent contractor or vice versa, and the IRS could audit you and there could be some tax penalties that you would have to pay. And there's also another reason of potential lawsuits. Now, if you say someone is an independent contractor and you are treating them like an employee, there is a chance that that person could take you to court. Now, an example would be when in Detroit, where the strippers were treated like an employees, but their owner of the club or their manager was saying that they were actually independent contractors. So that is definitely something you should look up, because that is a great case of why you should clarify who's an independent contractor, who's an employee, know the difference, and what to do to tell the difference between the two. Resources for you are the irs.gov website. They have a whole web page telling you the difference between an employee and an independent contractor and the tests that you're supposed to do to determine who's an employee and who's an independent contractor. You can also visit an attorney site, LegalZoom, NoLo, anything like that, that could tell you the difference between who's an employee and who's an independent contractor. Now, always fact check everything. I said this before in another video. I'm going to continue to say this. Fact check, double check, make sure that everything is reliable source, especially dealing with HR and employment law. You want to make sure you have your T's crossed and your I's dotted. So let's go over what exactly is an independent contractor. An independent contractor is a person, business, or corporation that does a service or provides a service or product to you with a written agreement or even a verbal agreement. An example of an independent contractor would be if you're getting your house painted. So they'll come in, they'll give you a quote, most of the time, a free estimate, and then either you have a verbal agreement or a written agreement or a contract that they sign that they're going to paint this part of the house or paint this floor of the house for this set price, and it's going to take a day or two or however long they said it was going to take. That's an independent contractor. Independent contractors only going to do the work required. So let's go back to the painting example. They're only going to paint what you stated for them to paint. So if it's the walls in the dining room, then that's all they're going to paint, is the wall in the dining room. They're not going to do any more or any less. Now with independent contractors, you cannot tell them how to do their job. But wait, Deanna, you just said I can tell them which room to paint. Yes. You can tell them which room to paint, but you can't tell them exactly how to do it. You can't tell them what paintbrush to use, what rollers to use, what ladder to use, where to start, where to finish. Just like if you're hiring someone to clean your office, more than likely that's going to be an independent contractor. You cannot tell them what products to use, to vacuum first and then mop, to sweep over here first, to go from left to right, not right to left. You just hire them to clean. Another thing about independent contractors are they're supposed to have their own contract. And if they don't, you need to have one for them, like a general independent contracting agreement where you can just fill in their business and your business and what they're doing. Now, this just makes it officially in writing, in stone, that this is an independent contractor. There's no mistake. There's no, oh, she treated me like an employee. No, it says right here what you're doing, what you are, and what our relationship is. It's clear cut, and it will save you so much time. Now, like I said before, you can do a verbal agreement I know me and my husband did when we did painting in our house, because we were just painting the foyer and a section of the steps that was really high, and it was a one-day job. Now, let me know in the comments if this is making sense so far. Even though I just went over the independent contractor part of it, you should be getting an idea of who's an independent contractor to you and who's an employee. So let's go ahead and move on to an employee and what they are. An employee is a person that is below executive level that is hired by a person to perform a service for a salary or wage and is under another's control. Now, this person is hired through the application and interview process, and it is strongly recommended that you send this person an offer letter stating that they are an employee. As an owner, you take a lot of risk when it comes to hiring. And by risk, I mean time and money spent recruiting, onboarding, and training. And this can be a lot considering if an employee doesn't stay more than a few months with you. You can spend time posting a job ad and that money to post the job ad to an external website, and then training this person to know your business, the ins and the outs, and then the money to get them established in the payroll, and then they quit. So the risk is yours to take when you're hiring an employee. There's also the risk of employee engagement. Now, don't get me wrong, employee engagement is a good thing. But if you don't know what it is, don't know how to start it, then it can be a risk and a disadvantage for you. Employee engagement is what keeps the employees wanting to come back to work, what keeps them loyal to you. The higher the employee engagement, the higher the loyalty, the higher the retention rate, the higher the profits. It is a proven system that works. Another risk to consider when hiring an employee are benefits and incentives. Well, not really a risk, but disadvantage, because you want your employees, again, to come back. And those too are a part of employee engagement. Now, benefits and incentives do cost money. So again, this is another cost for you as an owner. So you have to consider your options. Another cost for you as an owner are, of course, the supplies and tools this employee needs to perform their job. Unlike an independent contractor that brings everything themselves, you have to supply your employees with the tools and supplies they need to perform their job. Now, the last disadvantage of hiring an employee is an employee at will. So I, as an employee, can give you a 2 weeks notice for any reason. And you as an employer have to legally give me a reason why you're letting me go. Now, not all states have employee at will, so I do recommend that you check your local Department of Labor website or ask an employment law attorney if employee at will is something that you do in your state. A disadvantage for independent contractor is you have no control over how they do the work. The independent contractor may not have a fixed rate. Depending on what it is, they may have one, or they could charge hourly like an attorney. Now, for me, as an HR consultant, I am considered an independent contractor, and I have 2 separate rates. I have an hourly rate, and then I have a project rate. There are some advantages with going with hiring an independent contractor. One is savings. You do not have to pay an independent contractor any benefits, incentives, salary, anything like that. You sometimes get a fixed price or a rate, and you know exactly what you're going to pay at the end of the day. There's also the advantage of you choosing who you want to work with. You can choose out of 100 plumbers and you find the one that works best with you. Now, for an employee, like I said, you can't just fire them for no reason. You have to have a legal reason to let an employee go. And sometimes that can take weeks because you have to document exactly why you're letting this person go. There is a guaranteed talent that you get from hiring an independent contractor. These people are professionals and know their craft. And when it comes to hiring an employee, sometimes they can stretch the imagination on a resume or the application. So it's a hit or miss. But with an employee, the advantages are that you have control over them. You can delegate how, when, where, and why they need to do their work. So if you are running a retail shop, you can have that person run the register, then you can have them go stock, and then you can have them go straighten up the sales floor, and you have full control over them during those set hours. Another advantage of hiring employees, especially when you're starting out, is most of these employees that work with startups or they're your first employees, they're going to have a commitment to you. I said most, not all. But they're going to believe in what you do. They have probably been a customer before and they want to help you grow. So you have that commitment from them, the loyalty from them. Now let's talk about when to hire which. An independent contractor is hired when the work that needs to be done is not a necessity to the business, such as a cleaning service. You don't need the office to be clean during your hours of operation. So that's something you can find an independent contractor for. Another way to determine if you can hire an independent contractor over an employee is if the work that needs to be done can be done in less than a year, so a short-term basis, and if the work that needs to be done can be done without much supervision. You need an employee if the work that needs to be done for your business is something that needs to be done for longer than a year, so anything that's considered long-term. Also, if that work needs to be supervised by you or anyone else, then you need to go the route of hiring an employee. This also means, of course, that you will supply the tools and the equipment that that person needs to perform the job. You need to go the route of hiring an employee if the work that needs to be done is essential to your business, such as running a register or stocking merchandise, or even a chef that needs to cook the meals in your restaurant. This also means that you will supervise their work and control their hours, their equipment that they use, the tools that they use, sometimes even the clothing that they wear. I hope you found the information in this video helpful and that you now know the difference between an employee and an independent contractor. Make sure you like this video and subscribe, and of course, click that bell for notifications on when the next video is coming out. My name is Deanna, your HR consultant. See you next time.